Hello, everybody, and welcome to round 2 of our Friday Night Magic. This is our modern.
Getting over a few road bumps from the first round here. We were trying a little something, but it didn't really pan out.
Well, I think, yeah. So these are the modern games you came to see. We appreciate everyone sticking around. We've got Billy Comminos on KCI and Paul Koerbel on Elves. These are two combo decks trying to do their thing.
Very little interaction on either side of the board. Now, I know Paul, I believe he's playing at least one Reclamation Stage in the main deck. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
A lot of the decks do. I think
by no interaction, we mean like very little to none. Like
yeah,
it would not be surprising if we saw an entire game without either one of these players doing anything that targeted the other player.
Yeah, when we really think about interaction, we're talking about turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Terminate, that sort of thing. None of that's happening here. We have post-board. KCI has some interaction with some decks, but this deck, even post-board, we're going to see maybe a couple Rex.
Main deck, there's
not much else.
Main deck, there's engineered explosives on the KCI side, and outside of that, not really. So the KCI deck is an artifact combo deck, and the Elves deck is a creature combo deck. And as you can see, Paul's kind of gone off. Now, what makes this different than a regular go-wide strategy is the, and why I would consider this a combo deck, is the amount of synergy that Paul has. Every card in his deck is an elf.
Yeah, most of the times when you see elf decks win, it's in one big burst of light. You know, they either hit you with the hoof, or they go infinite and hit you with Azuri, or they just hit you with a big fair Azuri. Everything in the deck makes mana for the most part, especially when you get cards like Heritage Druid out. Those combo greatly with Dwynen's Elite, which we see 2 of here on Fault.
He's trying to and currently succeeding in getting as many creatures out as he can, and then he'll play a Lord and pump them, and then Cord or Collected Company into, or possibly Eldritch Evolution, into a Shaman of the Pack.
Yeah,
here we see 3. Did he just play all of those stars?
He just played 3 stars. That was interesting. He played his second land, which played the second land, which was the Darksteel, and then used that to run out the star, which turned on the Mox Opal to play the last star.
Nice.
Yeah, it looks like Paul's playing like the full Abzan build of this. If I recall correctly, he actually has a package of like the Counters Company package.
Okay.
With the Walking Ballista and the Vizier Druid combo. Now, Devoted Druid is an elf, so you've got some.
And it makes mana.
Yeah, and it makes mana. So it's not the worst, but it's more often than not a combo piece. So we've got, there's an Azuri, and Billy's just going to scoop it up. Paul has him dead.
Paul was able to execute on his game plan faster than Billy was.
Welcome to the combo mirror, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
And Elves in this matchup has the advantage of being an aggro deck that just spontaneously turns into a combo deck in the critical turn.
That's why I've always really liked Elves. Is
you can chip in for damage.
Its plan A is to play a bunch of dudes and attack the opponent, which is winning.
Right.
It's not trying to. It's not. Whereas other creature combo decks, they only win with their combo, and that may or may not be easy to get going, especially through interaction. Like if the plan A is the combo, sometimes your deck just doesn't come together.
Yeah, what Paul did this game is he recognized that I'm just going to put 7 or 8 power on board on turn 2 or 3, and he can really ride that. Now that Azuri just gave him enough mana, like he's going to play the Azuri, or I think he corded for the Azuri, and then he was going to untap, pump his team, and that was just going to be lethal. And that's not really a combo, so to speak. It's not really the kind of combo that we're referring to, but it definitely cut his clock right in half, which is what Paul really wanted to do.
The combo aspect of the deck has less to do with the Elves and more so what you're able to do with them. You're able to play cards like Court of Calling, because all your guys are green. You can use the Court of Calling. You can use your green guys to pay for the Court of Calling to go and get a specific card, be it a Silver Bullet, be it a win condition, whatever. So that's one combo, and then the specific combo is the Vizier of Remedies Devoted Druid combo. Connor, how exactly does that combo work?
Now, the Vizier and Devoted Druid combo is really interesting. It plays off of a similar mechanic to what the old Abs and Company decks would do with Malira and Kitchen Finks. Now, what Vizier of Remedies is a 2/1 for 2 with a 1 white and a generic that says if a neg1 counter would be put on a creature you control, put that many -1. Now, Devoted Druid has the activated ability, put a neg1 counter on this creature, untap it. And the other ability is tap for a green mana. Now, when you so you technically can pay the cost by putting a neg1 counter on it, but the Vizier of Remedies replacement effect caused you to put one fewer than that. 1 -1, here being 0. So you're putting 0 neg1 counters on your creature, untapping it, and then you tap it for mana again and again and again until you have all the green mana you would ever want.
Yep.
Now, what's interesting about the combo is specifically the fact that Vizier of Remedies is a replacement effect. Now, Malira says that you cannot put neg1 counters on creatures. Or neg1 counters cannot be placed on creatures, which actually prevents you from paying the cost of Devoted Druid's untap ability.
That's why it wasn't a combo before. And then they imprinted this innocuous little uncommon in Amonkhet that saw no play in Standard, is barely playable in Limited, and has become a modern staple.
Modern, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, enabled an archetype in Modern. Okay, so
here's some interaction for you. Eidolon of Rhetoric.
Eidolon of Rhetoric, but on Billy's side, he's got the house. He's got the Gear per Aether Grid. I love Gear per Aether Grid.
I think right now, Eidolon of Rhetoric is a faster clock.
I don't think I don't think Billy can lose. Every single turn, Billy gets to kill something of Paul's.
Except for Eidolon of Rhetoric, which is a 1/4.
Eventually, he will be able to kill the Eidolon of Rhetoric or not care.
This is true. He does have to kill the Eidolon of Rhetoric.
Paul can win right here. Ooh, he's got the Kataki. Well, I spoke too soon. Although Kataki's a 1/2, a 2/1. He gets to kill it right now, so it doesn't do anything. So now that we're seeing a much more interactive game here, especially because Billy brought in Gear per Aether Grid. Billy has recognized that his role in the match is that Paul can actually go under him, so he needs to take a more controlling route and play some interactive Magic, and he's got the perfect card for that, which is Gear per Aether Grid.
Both of these players have like what I would call their perfect card for the matchup, but I still think Eidolon of Rhetoric is better. It is a incredible uphill battle for Billy to actually get 8 artifacts into play through an Eidolon of Rhetoric.
True, but Billy gets to kill this Devoted Druid right now.
And that works until Paul does this. And let's see this just win the game. Heritage.
Let's see it do nothing.
Devoted. Well, there's a Devoted. Hey, got through some cards here. You're right.
That Devoted Druid is down. Billy tapped some artifacts that were already in play, and now Paul is down a card. Paul is not going to have cards forever.
This is true.
He will eventually run out of cards.
This the Eidolon of Rhetoric is definitely a hurdle here, though.
The
Eidolon
of Rhetoric is currently slowing down Billy. Once Billy has 8 artifacts, or sees a, I can't imagine he brought in a Nature's Claim, but if he did and he sees it, he can take care of that Eidolon of Rhetoric, or he can bolt it and then tap 2 of his guys.
And Paul put a Rex Sage into play here, which is going to set
the Rex Sage is going to get rid of the Gear per Aether Grid. He has to.
That's the only correct decision.
He's thinking about it. He's thinking about which redundant copy of Scrap Trawler he wants to take care of. But the actual answer is
there he is.
There it is. And I'm just joking. Paul wasn't thinking about that at all.
Yeah,
Paul knew to take care of it.
Paul knows what's going on here.
Yeah.
Paul knows his stuff.
So this is a...
Yeah, so we're going to get one last activation out of that, and that's fine. I think Paul has dealt with the issue at hand.
Yep.
I think at this point in time, Paul can't lose.
So now the Eidolon of Rhetoric has really done its job. See, it bought Paul all of that time to get to the Rex Sage, which is now stabilized the board for Paul. Paul did lose a bunch of cards in the process, so Billy is ahead on cards.
Ooh, there's a Walking Ballista on Paul's side. I like that.
And Billy's just on the beatdown plan now. Those scrap trialers, they're still 3-2s.
You are not wrong.
And when they die, the other scrap trawler, it triggers the other scrap trawlers. He gets to get his stuff back. Billy was always going to be ahead on cards. Let's be serious here.
Let's see. We've got another Mind Stone coming out here. Only spell he's allowed to cast this turn. I'm really curious to see if Billy brought in his Nature's Claims, because those would answer the Rhetoric. And if he can answer that Rhetoric with a Nature's Claim, he probably just wins on the spot. You know, 2 scrap trawlers is pretty insane.
If he doesn't have a way to answer the Eidolon of Rhetoric, it will win Paul this game. For sure.
He does have the KCI in hand, which is a pretty big deal. So if he can answer the Eidolon, like if he draws the answer, if he even brought in the answer, or another Gerper
I'm just saying that Paul needed to answer the Gerper before the Eidolon would win him the game.
Yeah,
and it's interesting that the Eidolon enabled that. So we're actually seeing a really interesting and interactive match here. Like, these two players both brought interaction for each other, and it slowed this game down a lot, which is really what you want to see.
And Paul's managed to pick off 2 of those scrap trawlers, so this is looking worse and worse for Billy as time goes. Billy's like, his aggro plan is basically falling apart here. The scrap trawler can't safely swing through the Eidolon. They just bump into each other.
Yeah.
Let's see, it's Billy's turn, right? There's just not a lot happening. That's a lot of card flicking. Okay, we're going to Paul's turn. And there's a land, it looks like. A Guiltleaf Palace with no reveal. Gaddock Teague. Gaddock
Teague locks it out.
Gaddock Teague is good. I wouldn't say that he locks it out, but he prevents the casting.
Billy can't play KCI.
Yeah, but he can still play Nature's Claim and then Pyrite Spellbomb it.
He can't play Engineered Explosives, and he can't play KCI.
But he can play Pyrite Spellbomb.
Yeah, his 1 or 2 Pyrite Spellbomb.
The deck's equipped for it. You get Ancient Stirrings and all that sort of nonsense.
This is true. And it's not like he can't get it back later, because that's actually
sure.
the entire point of the deck.
Yeah, like, Billy's going real slow here, but Paul still has to present a meaningful clock.
If you're not familiar, which is that's true too. If you're not familiar with the way the KCI deck works, it's trying to assemble one of several convoluted combos. The first one of which will draw them their entire deck, and the second one of which will create red mana and cycle Pyrite Spellbomb from the battlefield to the graveyard, doing 2 damage on each cycle. Once they once they can assemble one combo, they can assemble
all of the others.
The other by replacing things. And there are videos out there that explain the combo. I'm not going to go into it now, at least until it happens.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Billy was playing another copy of Aether Grid. So that's definitely a solid answer.
They have like 2 or 3.
It's definitely a really good card in this matchup, as we saw it.
It's a really good card in general.
It was a good 5 or 6 for 1 earlier this game.
It's a really good card in general.
Until Paul got the answer. But Paul definitely plays more than 1 Rex Age as well. And unfortunately, Court of Calling is off the table here because of Gaddock Teague. But there's an Azuri. There is a clock. That lets him go above and beyond over the blockers that Billy has assembled.
Oh my god.
And that might just do it. That might be enough, unless Billy can come up with another answer here fairly quickly. And we can all see Paul has plenty of mana going on here.
Yeah, Billy can prolong this game a little bit more, I think, by killing the Azuri right now with lightning bolts. Because Paul doesn't have enough mana to untap. He doesn't have enough mana to activate Azuri's ability to pump the team.
Yeah, currently, like right now, is the only shields down on Paul's side as far as lightning bolt. Is that a Tendo Ice Bridge?
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, they play that or Grid or both. It's
Hub.
Yeah, Hub.
Yeah.
The Aether Hub. You just need a land that can tap for any color.
Yeah, the only real functional difference are some real corner case, interactions.
I've seen KCI decks incorporate blue, but mostly in the sideboard for negate, but mostly for Psi, the Master Thopterist.
Ah, yeah.
It gives them another angle every time you Psi will get you as many tokens as you want when you can complete the loop.
That's a super good post-board game plan.
Yeah, it's just another angle of attack.
Yeah, so here we have an Azuri
activation. It fills a similar role to the Aether Grid.
Ooh, Bolt on Gaddock, and there it goes. And here's the Inventor's Fair. I'm going to bet it's for Pyrite Spellbomb.
I think
or Engineered Explosives.
It's for Engineered Explosives.
Well, he did just pass up an Engineered Explosives.
It's for Engineered Explosives.
No, he passed one up.
He's going to Engineered Explosives for 3, which he can do because of the Ice Bridge.
Because of the Ice Bridge. That's the stuff.
That'll be his next turn. So Paul needs to kill him now.
Yeah, Paul just got in.
That was all at the end of Paul's turn. Even better.
Yeah, Paul just got in for a solid 9 there with Trample. So we've got, this is for sure going to be an Engineered Explosives for 3, which is, it's going to kill that Scrap Trawler, which is going to put all the Scrap Trawlers in the yard. But is more importantly going to take out the Azuri. And, I don't know, Eidolon of Rhetoric's 2 mana, right?
Eidolon of Rhetoric's 3 mana.
Is it? Is it 3 mana?
That's why he's putting it on 3,
I haven't played against the card in so long.
Yeah. He would put it on whatever the Eidolon of Rhetoric was on. The Eidolon of Rhetoric is what's gotten Paul this far. And now Billy has an answer for it.
Now, Paul does actually have regeneration available, but not for those 2. He could have regenerated his other elves with Azuri, but he can't regenerate himself, and he can't regenerate the non-elf Eidolon.
And the engineer doesn't care about those 2 because the engineer doesn't care about those 2 because they have less converted mana cost.
We have a big setup coming here now. If Billy can drop a KCI next turn, I think he's got it. You got the Scrap Trawler. No, that's not Scrap Trawler. It's Mirror Retriever.
Yeah.
You get my artifact creatures mixed up. You got that Mirror Retriever to get back the Trawler, and you've got a big pool of rocks already.
We're gonna see Billy go off this turn.
I believe we are. Oh, there's another KCI, just in case 2 wasn't enough.
Just in case the 2 he already had was not enough.
And Paul knows what's going down here. He's going to scoop it up.
Well, our viewers at home might not, which is why I
would like them to play it at least.
Would like to play it out. I would like Billy to be able. I always like the KCI player to demonstrate the loop, and then they can rinse and repeat it, and then demonstrate the loop that's going to kill me. Just so I can make sure that they know what they're doing, that they can do it, and then we're good to go. But
Paul clearly does not share that sentiment, but I'm with you there. I would at least make them demonstrate it to me one time, because I've seen KCI players here and around here that they kind of knew when they won, and most of the time their opponent scooped, but they didn't actually know how the combo worked.
Yeah,
or at least they didn't know how all of the different loops worked, so they would just kind of assume that they would win. Like, yeah. I've heard somebody say, okay, combo out and kill you, and I've heard his opponent say, okay, show me. And he ran into a wall there.
Or they make a mistake.
Yeah, that's not a position you want to be in. You really want to know your combo if you're playing a do you concede match. Yeah, Paul's talking about the outs that he may have had there, and he believed he didn't have any. They were talking about Billy definitely being able to combo out there. So we got both players dealing out 7 cards. We haven't done mulligans yet. Paul's hand's looking pretty good just from what we've seen so far. We've got both Azuri's in hand. Now that's not the best. What do you think?
Yeah, Azuri's legendary. You only need 1.
He doesn't really do much in the really early game either, except for do a little bit of protection for your other creatures. He can definitely run him out.
I mean, Paul can play him as soon as turn 2.
Yeah, which isn't terrible. He's still a 2/2. That incrementally gets better as the
It's
game
your
goes
payoff
on.
card.
Yeah.
It's not really a card that you need until you are going to win the game.
Right. But when it wins the game, it really
and
wins the game.
You can win the game with it like the turn it comes into play. The win condition is the overrun activated ability. Can we get Azuri up?
Azuri Renegade Leader, not to be confused with Azuri Claw of Progress, the commander card that came out a few years ago. Another solid card. I don't know if it would see modern play, but it can't in any case.
So here's a Zuri, and I like that we got the dual deck one.
Which is the one Paul's playing, as it happens. Signed. So here you have Zuri. Regenerate another target elf, meaning he can't regenerate himself. And for triple green and 2, 5 mana, elf creatures you control get Overrun. This is actually the exact text on the card Overrun, which is, you know, the reason for the, the vernacular.
Yeah, let's get Overrun up for the comparison so people know what we're referring to.
It is actually Overrun. But it has the added benefit of not being a sorcery and being repeatable.
Here's Overrun for you at home. Yep. Zuri just has this
has
on the
literally
card.
just stapled to it.
So
5 mana, same cost, same ratios.
You could play.
Same effect.
You could play this sorcery, and you know, you could play this card at sorcery speed. You know, for the cost of 5 mana and a card, or you know, you could just activate a Zuri. You can do that whenever and as many times as you want.
Instant speed, activated ability. Seems good to me.
Yeah, man.
It only hits elves. But you know, what sort of rundown elf deck do you think this is if we're not hitting some elves?
That's true. It only hits elves.
Here's
so
a Phyrexian Revoker.
Maybe Paul could have a single overrun for his non-elves. I'm just playing around.
What did Paul name with Phyrexian Revoker? I'm guessing probably Pyrite Spellbomb or Gira Aether Grid. KCI. He named KCI, which is interesting. KCI is a mana ability, meaning that Pithing Needle would not hit it due to the clause on Pithing Needle that says accept mana abilities. However, Phyrexian Revoker knows no such limitations. It can just name a non-land
Its
card.
limitation is that it can't name a land.
Yeah, but it can knock off mana abilities. It can stop mana dorks. It can stop mana artifacts, and that's what we see it doing here. The problem with that is it, you know, gets answered by Pyrite Spellbomb, Gira Aether Grid, Engineered Explosives, but it's still a solid play. Still a solid piece of interaction.
Still a solid piece of cardboard.
It is indeed not a liquid piece of cardboard. And Billy's just kind of spinning the wheels over here. He does have a Gira Aether Grid in hand. He clearly just doesn't care to use it just yet. Yeah, he's just going to keep spinning his wheels. It looks like what's going through Billy's mind is that Paul has not presented enough of a threat to warrant the tempo play just yet. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down next turn when Billy can activate it 3 times with what's already in play.
Yeah.
It'll only be 2 times because he has to tap one of these artifacts, at least one of these artifacts, in order to play it. But it's definitely going to affect this game. It's going to take out that Phyrexian Revoker, and then it's going to take out the Devoted Druid.
Just leave old Azuri all by his lonesome.
Yeah, he's not great when he's just pumping himself.
He's a leader, man.
Yeah, you can't lead when you have no followers.
Yeah, he's not a not a loner, not a lone wolf. You know, those cards are good by themselves.
He's a leader,
Zuri,
not a loner.
Yep, that's right.
Phyrexian Revoker is a loner.
Oh yeah.
Itself.
Yeah.
Gira Aether Grid is not good by itself either. It's a leader.
That's right.
Can't tap
It's
itself.
the grid.
It's the grid. The digital frontier.
He is a leader amongst other renegades.
He's
so
the renegade
he was
leader.
able to unite a lot of like-minded individuals under a banner that was in opposition to the establishment. And that's what makes him renegade.
Mm-hmm. He's like the Martin Luther of
It's the Cesar Chavez.
I would call him a Martin Luther of Phyrexia. Because Cesar Chavez was more of a revolutionary. Martin Luther was opposing something in the name of the good of the many. Cesar Chavez was trying to establish a regime. But that's not important here. That's not what matters here.
That's fantasy reflecting history, you know?
That's art imitating
life. There we go. Got there.
So yeah, there's the Aether Grid taking out all those little interactive pesky creatures with 1 toughness.
And Paul's gonna scoop him up.
And Paul's gonna roll it up. He knows what's coming.
Okay. Well, we'll see if we can get our backup match to scoot over. And if not,
it looks like we're gonna try and get a little deck tech with Paul.
Yeah.
Here pretty shortly.
If we can't get the backup match on. Okay.
Yeah, see, this guy knows what's going on. He knows the deal with Martin Luther. He did, yes, he was more of a revolutionary in the literal sense. Cesar Chavez was more of a rebel. Far be it for me to, have opinions about what happens in South American government. I know very little about it, but what I do know, I'm going to say really loudly.
Okay. So we don't have time for a. They're in the middle. They're in the middle of.
Yeah. So the backup match is in the middle of game 2.
So we're gonna do a interview with Paul. I'm gonna have Paul do a deck tech and talk about elves because Paul is
he's our resident elf player. And we want to hear more about his particular build.
Yeah, I'm going to go out there and talk to Paul about elves. Stick around. I need to get another rest in peace. I don't like the one that I have as a ship at the top. You can see it when you shuffle.
Is it like altered or something?
So I'm going to do that now.
Well, we got a match about to start, man. Can't
Yeah.
eat a burrito while we're playing a match.
I can and I will.
Because then the chat's going to have a fucking stroke.
Cesar Chavez was a South American revolutionary, right?
I know who you're talking about. I'm pretty sure.
Look it up. I want to correct this person.
That's probably not good for viewership, but I'm with you.
Okay, so instead of doing an interview with Paul, we're going to do... We got a backup match. Which is the backup match that I wanted anyway. We got Zachary Harris on blue-white control versus Matt Menier on Panza. Thank you for everyone. Thank you everyone for sticking around. So... Still round 2. And looks like we're going into game 3.
What sorts of
That's who I was talking about.
what sort of sideboard cards do you think are going to be coming in here?
That's a good question. I'd like to know exactly what list. Zach is on. Considering that he just put this together, I hope it's the Miracles list. So we're going to have like 4 Terminus. That card's still good here. Out of Menier, he definitely brought in one of the last trolls.
One of them.
For sure. If he's playing and he brought that in, or any other uncounterable creature. Big dumb uncountable. All right, so better six for Zach. I think he's looking for something in particular. He knows that Matt's going to be messing with his lands, and that's a big problem. So, like,
it's interesting problem for this Colonnade too.
Panza's a deck, a red-green deck that actually gets to be good against against Control because it attacks their lands, and Control needs to be hitting their lands like every single turn. Matt's going to untap, and he's going to destroy this land, and that's going to put like Zach really far behind. So what we saw here was we saw a Utopia Sprawl on the same forest, so that forest can tap for green and double red to cast the Molten Rain.
Which is great.
Which is great. Yeah, Zach probably already lost the game because he didn't hit a third land. Or he did.
He did hit a third land, but he's already so
really far
behind.
Like the number of spells that he's able to cast are extremely limited. And specifically, he's not really able to cast like the ones that win him the game. That's the angle that Ponza attacks on. Ponza is just another variation of the red deck wins.
Right.
And this is the one that destroys the lands.
Right. I think it's kind of a shady game plan because most of what you're doing doesn't win the game for you. It just kind of interrupts your opponent. And you just kind of hope that you have to hope that the rest of your cards line up. But in practice, that really does happen.
Yep. Here we see a Huntmaster of the Fells, that's gone.
You still got that creature
you still got
and
the
a
wolf.
land.
You still got the wolf, and you still got 2 life.
Yeah, the benefit of that Huntmaster was already had.
Zach hitting his land drops like a champ. He is playing a lot of them after all, like 25 or something.
This would be a good turn for another
maybe even
Stone Rain
more
to come out. Now that Field of Ruin feels really bad because it cannot hit the big forest.
That's right.
The big double Utopia Sprawl.
And that's the difference between Field of Ruin and Ghost Quarter. As a Ghost Quarter here, you would be able to get this big old forest with 2 enchantments on it.
Yep. The difference between Ghost Quarter and Field of Ruin is analogous to the difference between Wasteland and Strep Mine. One of them's banned in Legacy and one of them's not.
Field of Ruin, by not being able to hit basics, has the added benefit of getting you a land, so you're not actually behind a land. Ghost Quarter replaces the land that you take away from your opponent without actually replacing your own. Field of Ruin, you both get a land, and you both have to shuffle. Even if you don't search.
Even if you don't want to.
Even if you don't want to, you have to.
It's weirdly good in that way against Lantern Control. You can just randomly shuffle their deck for him. You're like, ha, you don't get to draw that, Lantern player. Ha!
We're seeing Opt here. What's interesting about the blue-white deck, as it's currently configured, it plays Opt instead of Serum Visions. There's no Serum Visions in the deck. You play Opt in the spot.
It's a largely reactive deck, and I don't disagree with that play at all.
It lets you keep open your mana every turn.
It's easy to Snapcaster it. You can do it on their end stuff.
Right. Open mana, when you're playing against a control deck and they have open mana, it leads to a lot of misplays. You're trying to play around cards.
You're trying to play around cards
that they may or may not even have, though.
Right. So if you're playing reactively and you have the option to, instead of countering a spell when they don't play one, just
draw a card. What it also lets you do, perhaps most importantly, what it lets you do, is you get to play Terminus on their turn.
On their turn, that's a really interesting thing that I've seen done. So here we have spinning a Rex Sage, or spinning into a Rex Sage off of Bloodbraid Elf. I'm 90% sure that Bloodbraid or that Rex Sage has to.
Is it a May? It is a May, or it only hits things that your opponent's controls.
Yeah. You're probably right.
It's a May.
My memory when it comes to those green utility creatures is a little shaky. That might be what we're. Well, you may cast it, but he did. We're talking about the actual trigger, whether it's May. But it looks like they've got that sorted out. They've already moved on past it. And here we have, looks like an end-step Snapcaster Mage
for Opt.
For Opt. That's what we were just talking about.
Just trying to keep hitting those lands. If Zach can hit another land here, he gets to cast Supreme Verdict, which I'm pretty sure is in his hand. That may be from the sideboard. And
oh yeah, this is a mid-combat snap coming out of Zach's hand, and then we had a Keswick Wolf Run activation. So Zach's hitting a 4th land here, which is pretty good. He's got that Cryptic Command. And if this is a land, oh, it's not a land. Zach's draws are lining up. They're starting to get there. A cryptic command here is fairly good. We can tap the team, bounce the forest. With
Unfortunately, he has to go to 2. There we go.
There we go. That's something.
But it's well worth it to get everything off the board, unless
yeah, Matt
top decks an Inferno Titan like a champ.
Or a Bloodbraid Elf.
There we go.
There we go. That'll do it.
There we go. That's how it's done.
Lots of reach. Hey man, I want to see somebody play Mono Blue Ninjas in Modern. That's the sort of dumb stuff I'm about. They're having a little discussion about Kessig Wolfrun, it sounds like.
I've talked to Matt a little bit about why he's playing pawns, and his reasoning is that everyone at the store tries to play like greedy mana bases, and he's able to capitalize on that. And that's what it's about. Playing a deck that's good at your local game store. And that's what we're bringing you here tonight at Top Deck Productions.
Watching some good old
so we're gonna call that for round 2.
Call that a round.
We're gonna call that a round. That's what it is.
It is.
And we'll be back with round 3. So
stay tuned.
Stay tuned, boy.
He's not gonna block. Like, okay, call your bluff, because it's worth more on the way back. Right?
Yeah.
You gain 2.
We're gonna see what check and draw here.
It's actually in a lot of